everybody. So today's video is coming from my office at work, and I just felt like it was the most appropriate place for this topic. I want to talk about learning to trust ourselves. So when I was a caregiver, I trusted myself really, really well. Even when I was extremely fatigued, just burnt out and overwhelmed and sad and broken, I still trusted myself. I knew I had the ability to show up for Steve. I trusted my intuition. When I had a gut feeling something was going on, more time than often was right, right? And so I really had that confidence in myself. When he passed away, I was pretty lost. Then when I moved up to the mountains and I bought a house without a job and had a little bit of money to hold me over, I was having anxiety going out doing normal things. I was definitely not feeling confident in my ability to be able to go back out into the world. Didn't know if I was ever going to have a job again. Didn't know if I was ever going to be a normal person in the world again. For a long time, there was a little bit of a call for me to get back into being a therapist based on just conversations people would have with me. I would do these videos just kind of spilling my heart and my process, and people really found them helpful and impactful. I was doing a lot of internal work on my anxiety. I was doing a lot of healing. I was doing a lot of process, and therapy just kept coming up. And I kept saying, nope, no, no. And it wasn't until I applied to probably 50 jobs. That sounds like a lot, because it is. And didn't hear back from any of them. So I finally said, all right, your girl needs a job. I have a degree. Let's just go ahead and apply for these therapy jobs. The very next day, they all called me and offered me a job. And I said, well, if that isn't the universe speaking, then I don't know what is. So I went with it. Afraid, unsure of how it was going to happen, but I went with it anyways, because I knew that if this was what was responding to, then I needed to listen. So I found out that because I hadn't kept up my license, and the 9 years I was taking care of Steve, and then the 2 that I was out of work, or was it 1? Doesn't matter. None of it had my license, and so I had to basically start the process all the way over again, which meant I had to go into supervision again and start the whole licensure process. I'm actually incredibly lucky because my supervisor is my favorite human, and she has been such a wonderful blessing to my life. I tell her everything, whether it's things happening at work or things happening in personal life. She's always there for me. She listens, she guides me. She's amazing. But the best thing she has done for me is I very intuitively follow a little call that I hear when I'm with my clients, and I'll go to her in supervision and say, so this happened and I said this, or this happened with this person, and I sort of give her the rundown, and she's like, spot on, spot on, spot on, spot on. She's basically this whole time been feeding into building my confidence in my intuition again. And she'll even say, you're a very intuitive human, just tap in, make sure what you're listening to is tapped in and not anxiety or trauma, which by this time, thankfully, I had done a lot of work in learning to tell the difference, which will be a video all in itself one day soon. But I think we so often wait until we feel 100% sure of ourselves before we go after and doing that thing. Had I done that, I would have never gotten back into being a therapist. Let me tell y'all, because coming back in, I kept thinking, ooh, I do not know if I'm going to be able to know the right thing to say, be able to hold space for people, be able to not melt down in my own traumas. I was uncertain that I was going to be able to do it. But over time, I have been able to build that confidence in myself and see that I am very capable of doing it, thankfully. And not just that, but actually comes pretty naturally to me. And connecting with my clients is something that I'm really good at. It's a really big blessing. Along the lines of building my trust in myself with this is what led me back into sharing myself with the world again, as well as writing again. Before, I was waiting to learn to to feel like I was good at doing something before I would actually do something. And then I would try things and be like, I'm not very good at that. And then I would just give it up. And I sort of have learned that this flow of just going and trying and doing and learning to tap in, that's how you learn to trust yourself. That's how you learn that you can do these things. And even if you're a little awkward in the beginning, doesn't mean you're not going to be able to get good at it or learn to be able to embody all that it is, right? So, if there is an area in which you're not feeling the most confident in with yourself, my recommendation is to lean into that, to go towards it, to work on it, to experience it, to dive in. Because the more and more and more we can have these experiences where we're like, oh, you know what? I did that pretty good. And that went really well. I'm really pleased about this. The more we can learn, we are so much more capable. I give this assignment to my kids that my supervisor later on in supervision made me do, and I still do this. I go home at the end of each of my work days, and on my drive home, I say 5 things I liked that I showed up about myself that day. So whether it be I liked the session, or I liked that all my clients showed up, or that I liked that I trusted myself, whatever it is, I do this every single day. And it's because our brains are sort of wired to focus on the way we're awkward, and especially if you have anxiety. So I like to redirect myself and say, you know what? I am showing up and I'm trying my best. And that effort is working. So if you are in the process of trying to learn to trust yourself, I give you the same homework assignment. Just notice 5 things each day that make you really proud of how you're showing up. That's how we cement it into our brains that we are capable. Because we are so very capable. I hope you can see yourself that way. I really do.